Good afternoon. My name is Dr. Tom Rivera, and we're here at the Fowl Library at Cal State San Bernardino, and it's approximately 1 o'clock in the afternoon. We're in room 4005, and our crew this afternoon is Mr. Frank Acosta, and he's behind the camera. And our guest this afternoon is Miss Esther Hernandez Ramos. Esther, welcome, and thank you very much for, you know, volunteering to be with our project this afternoon. The project is trying to get an oral history of people that lived in South Colton and record some of their experiences they had while they were growing up in South Colton.
Okay.
So welcome and thank you very much for being with us.
You're welcome.
First of all, Esther, your grandma was quite a person.
Oh, yes.
Your grandma was quite a person, and she had a tortilleria on South 7th Street. Can you tell us a little bit about your grandma and her tortilleria?
Well, my grandmother was born in Jaroches, Guanajuato in 1887. And she married my grandfather Cruz, and they lived around the same area. And they married in 1907 and came down to the United States on a train, paid a penny to get on the train, and they landed up in Arizona. And I don't know where my father was born in Arizona or in Mexico, or if he came when he was little or what, but he was born in 1907. And my tia Melinda was born in 1911 in Arizona, my tia Luz in Arizona.
What was your grandmother's name?
My grandmother's name was Dolores Venegas Hernandez, and my grandfather's Cruz Hernandez. And my grandfather was an orphan, and his aunt treated him very badly, so they got married, and they decided they wanted to come to a better life. So they came to Arizona, and he worked there for a number of years. And then in 1914, they came to Colton. And they had a little stand where they sell tortillas, tacos.
And in Colton,
253 South 7th Street.
oh, so they had the little stand
Uh-huh.
that they started on 7th Street.
Yeah, 253 South 7th Street.
Same place where the
Tortilleria was.
Uh-huh.
First they had a little stand, and then in the early 40s, they built a tortilleria.
In the stand, what did they sell at the stand?
At the stand, they sold tortillas, tacos, sodas, tamales on Saturdays.
So Grandma was an entrepreneur
Oh, yeah,
from the get-go,
entrepreneur.
a business person.
Oh, yes. She made, before they had the tortilleria, she made anything to sell, like dried jerky. And she also, in the 20s, she used to make brew.
Oh, tell me about what, because it was during Prohibition,
Yeah,
you know,
during
that
Prohibition,
was very popular.
she learned how to make beer from her mother, and she knew how to make, I guess, hard liquor too. And they sold it, and my tío Beto sold it to some revenuers that came around looking, and they arrested my grandfather, and it was in the Colton Courier. And my Aunt Dolores never forgot it. She said, "Oh, what an embarrassment," and stuff. But they had to make their money any way they could, and.
But you know, the distilling was popular back
Oh, yeah,
then.
during that time, yeah.
Yeah, because there was a prohibition. You weren't allowed to do it.
Yeah.
So everybody made their own beer.
Yeah, I know. And so she worked very hard, and she was a wonderful woman. She fed all the people that came to her door asking for handouts, the tramps, and she even fed Father Valencia. Father Valencia used to come and eat every day with my grandmothers. And we were in charge of
What
the
did you
church.
serve Father Valencia?
Oh, he had his own thing that he ate every day, either cereal, and he put everything in one bowl, milk and the camotes and everything in there, or whatever, or if he ate egg or weenies, he just put it all in one bowl and ate it like that. And he was always eating it, walking back to the house. You know, my grandmother prepared it, and he walked back to the house to eat. But for many years, as long as he was there, he ate at my grandmother's, and we also cleaned the church and closed it up at night. And
So your grandma was very religious.
oh yeah, she we went to mass every morning, and we were I and all my sisters and my cousins, bell ringers of San Salvador. We rang the bell every morning for mass, every night for rosary, or when there was going to be a baptism. We had we went out there and the father told us when there was going to be baptisms because they threw the bolo.
And
so we,
how old were you, Esther, when you were doing this for the church?
7, 8, 9 years old, around that
Uh-huh.
area, around that time. And,
And you couldn't be an altar girl back
oh,
then?
no. My brothers, my cousins, my Uncle Tony, everybody was altar boys. But we couldn't, women couldn't do that. So
Uh-huh.
but we ofrecer flores, that's what we did.
You did what?
Ofrecer flores in the
Uh-huh.
month of May for the Blessed Mother. And I was even 14 years and embarrassed to go, but Father Valencia made me ponte un vestido blanco and come and ofrecer flores. So that's what we did. And
So offering flowers to the Virgin?
yeah, on the
Okay.
month of May when it's
Okay.
yeah.
Your
So-
May Day. Now tell me about your grandmother. How did you start the store?
Like I said, she had a little stand, and then they decided in the early 40s they had enough money to build, and all the family helped build the tortilleria, which was just a long thing with a counter in the front and things to put the comales and stuff.
And it was on 7th Street.
7th Street.
On
Uh-huh.
7th
Same,
Street.
same place they were at. That's where they lived all their life.
Uh-huh.
And she opened it in the 40s, and when she died in 1966, my Aunt Dolores closed it, and that was the end of the tortilleria. But
Now, who helped make the tortillas?
oh, my Aunt Luz, my tia Melinda, my grandmother made the corn, and my cousin Mary, and a lot of the ladies. One of the Garcia ladies, and another one, Chavez lady, and one from San Bernardino used to work there to make the tortillas. And my mother and my tia Chepa made the flour tortillas, and we all helped in making menudo, cutting it up, and cleaning everything for the Saturday and Sunday tamales and menudo.
And how many ollas of menudo did you make?
Ooh, my grandmother made big pots, big ones like that too, because she sold the menudo, and then of course we all ate there. So
Uh-huh.
we made a lot of tamales. And
Did they pay you for cutting the menudo?
oh yeah,
How much were you paid?
Well, if I cut the menudo and clean the hojas and the chilies, my grandmother gave us 25 cents each
So you cut the menudo, clean the hojas for what?
for the tamales.
Okay, okay.
And the chilies for the tamales.
Okay.
So we got paid 25 cents, and if we did a lot of extra work, we got 50. So that was a lot of money during that time.
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
And then on Sundays, she said she knew that everybody had gone to mass, she lined us up, and she said, "Okay, you went to mass, 50 cents, 50 cents to every one of her grandchildren."
Uh-huh.
And then my Uncle Tony used to be in charge of us when we used to go to the New Colton Theater, then to the Hub City. We went from one movie to the other. But she gave us 50 cents for attending church, so that's how come we went to mass every
Every Sunday, huh?
And then we went with her during the week. But we were little and we enjoyed it, and it was my grandmother, an entrepreneur, that taught us everything we know about, helping people and just our religion. She taught me how to pray the rosary, and to this day we still have, our family prays the rosary every Wednesday together.
Did you work every day at the tortilla?
No, just Saturdays and Sundays, because I wrap the tortillas and I handle the cash register
Okay.
on Saturdays and Sundays.
Okay.
And then during the week, I just didn't work. I just did my work for school.
And what about, was it a big, a successful business on Saturday and Sunday?
Oh, yeah, a lot of people. But like I said, my grandmother gave most of her money away. Half of it went to the church and the other half for the family and friends and stuff. She always gave people money and tortillas and tamales.
In the store was, you had the entrance?
Yeah, they had the entrance, and then there was a counter and the cash register, and where we
Okay.
wrapped the tortillas and gave to the people.
Okay, and then the room after that?
The room
Was it
after that
kitchen?
was a long, long room with a big comal, big, humongous comal for the tortillas, and then they had 4 of the metates where they did the masa and the tortillas.
And did your grandma live there?
No, they lived in the back. We had the house on the side. My mom and dad lived in the house on the side, and my tia Lola lived with her children, and my tia Chepa lived with her son, because my Uncle Jess was in the service.
Uh-huh.
And then Tony lived in there. I don't know how we had so many things in that little. When I passed by, there's a little area, and I said, "How did we have the house, the tortilleria, the chicken coop, the shower in back, and then 2 little houses, where my grandmother and grandfather lived?" And sometimes there was about 17 people living with my grandmother.
Wow, that's a lot of people,
Yeah,
a lot of Hernandezes.
Yeah, because my dad and my mom lived there, and they had 7 children, so that's 9 of us right there.
Uh-huh.
And yeah, but we all worked and enjoyed, and when I was a teenager, I wanted to make more money, so I went to the fields to work.
The fields were what?
Picking grapes, boysenberry, strawberry, tomatoes. The worst ones was potatoes and onions, because the onions, our nose bled from the smell of the onions, and then the potatoes, I couldn't walk for 3 days because you have to pick them, with you have a belt with hooks you put on it for the sack, and then you're stooped over picking potatoes on the ground.
Now, how did you get to the fields?
Don Chencho was a man that charged us 50 cents to take us to pick grapes.
Was he a contractor?
I guess he got paid by a contractor, but he charged us 50 cents to take us, and take us on a truck. And so we went to all the places that they picked.
So Don Chencho would pick you up early in the morning?
Yeah, 5 o'clock in the morning.
5 o'clock in the morning, and take you to the vineyards?
Yeah, vineyards or to the fields, wherever we were working. And then he brought us back home about 1, 2 o'clock in the afternoon.
Now,
how old were you when you were doing the pictures?
13 to 15, or 13 to 16.
and did all the kids in the neighborhood?
No, they didn't want to. I took them, because they wanted to earn money, and I took a couple of my friends, and the tomatoes, we were going to the tomatoes. They saw all these green, big things on it, and they didn't want to get near them. So they said, no, gusanos, the green gusanos, and they didn't want to get near them. My cousins, I took them all, and they didn't want to go. The only one that was a good worker, Martha, my sister. She worked hard, yeah.
Martha was in my kindergarten class, yes.
Yeah, so she was a hard worker, always wanted to make money, so I took her to the fields with me.
And you did that for how many years, Esther?
3-4 years. Because they earned money to buy my clothes for school.
And where did you go to school?
I went to Garfield from, I think it was 1st grade to 5th grade, and then 6th to 8th at Wilson, graduated 48. And then I went to high school, graduated in 52, Colton High School.
Well, let's get back to Garfield Elementary School. You mentioned that you were a bocona.
Oh, yeah, well, yeah, because they told us not to speak in Spanish.
Okay.
And I didn't listen. I spoke in Spanish all the time, so my teachers would get me by the ear, take me to the bathroom, wash my mouth out with soap, and said, don't you speak like that again. You have to speak English only. And so I said, oh, and then I went home because my lips got all swollen, and my grandmother said, well, don't speak in Spanish, then you have to learn English, but don't forget your language. You have to do it at home. So at home I spoke Spanish to her, read her the opinion, wrote letters to her parents and people in Mexico. So that's how come I learned how to speak Spanish and still keep my language.
Yeah. When was the last time you had your mouth washed?
Oh, God, when I was in the 7th grade, I think.
Todavía?
Yeah, so, and they used to hit us with a ruler too in the hand. Don't speak like that, don't say those words. And I said, and I was wondering, why can't we speak our language? That's our language, why is it bad to speak our language? And so it was pretty bad. And then when I got to high school, I never realized we were segregated until I got to high school and I saw these Anglos, and they used to say, hi, little Mexican girl from across the tracks, is what they called us.
They would say that?
Yeah. And I have my annual, and I hardly ever read it until recently. I opened it up and I was looking at it and I said, how come I never noticed that they wrote to the little Mexican girl across the tracks? So
and the track was the dividing line.
The dividing line. And we used to go, when we were little, maybe I was about 8, 9, 10 years old, we used to go down into the north side because they gave out big candy bars.
Oh, tonight.
Yeah.
Today is Halloween.
Yeah, I know. And I remembered that today. And we used to go down on the other side. And then they said, no, you go back to your side. You can't be on this side. And they called the police, and the police just escorted us to go back to our side.
And how old were you then?
I was 8, 9, 10 when we used to go trick-or-treating.
So you'd go trick-or-treating in the north end, past the railroad tracks.
Oh, yeah.
And then they would sick the cops on you.
Oh, yeah, and then I used to go to the New Colton Theater. We have to sit on the left side. And they checked that we were sitting on the left side. And we had to sit on the left side because the Anglos sat on the right side. So.
But you mentioned that because of your friends, they had green eyes or.
Oh yeah, my friend Alice Melchor, she had blue eyes and blonde hair, and we used to pass. We went into the plunge because we were not allowed until Thursday to go to the plunge if we were Mexicans, and so we used to pass and we used to go any day because
you passed because you were light skinned.
Yeah, light skinned. Yeah, exactly. So we used
So
to
you
pass them
fooled
on.
them.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, because we spoke English, but that time, we were going to the plunge,
Uh-huh.
so they let us in, but on Friday, they cleaned the plunge, so that's how come they let us go in on
And
Thursday.
how much was the admissions back then? ¿Te
About 10
acuerdas?
cents.
Oh,
About 10
okay,
cents. Yeah,
okay.
so not bad.
Uh-huh.
Because the 10 cents you used to pay at the theaters too. Popcorn 5 cents, sodas, and so
Uh-huh,
we
uh-huh.
had quite a bit, going from one place to the other, enjoying Sundays.
Well, you mentioned your two friends and you.
Hmm.
Esther, were the boys chasing you during that period?
Yeah, they always chased them, but we used to throw rocks like Martha, my sister, to them all the time. So, no, because we were just friends that hung around, and we, like I said, we played together and went to Rosary together. And at night, we didn't have television during that time, so my dad had a big radio, and we used to sit down, all the kids sitting down, listening to the Lone Ranger, the Green Hornet, Inter Sanctum, Father Knows Best. And we used to sit there and we used to imagine in our minds, I think that's what's lacking with kids today because they can't imagine. And we used to imagine what everything was happening in Inter Sanctum, when the creaky door and we.
Yes.
And so we had a lot of fun growing up. And I remember during the war, 45, 46, air raids, and we used to have to cover all the windows and turn off all the lights until the siren went off, and rations and all that stuff during growing up.
Well, there was rationing during the
Mhm.
war. Do you remember rationing?
Yeah, we had stamps and we couldn't buy things that we needed until we got our stamp and it was time for us to buy. Yeah.
And what products were the
Mostly,
stamps for?
mostly sugar, margarine. We used to have to mix our own margarine with that coloring on it and stuff, and the staples. And we didn't have, toilet paper and all those things were rationed. And yeah.
So you do remember those?
Oh yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah. Getting back to the three of you that boys were always trying to get your attention.
Sometimes we used to have a fight with them, so throw rocks and fight with them and stuff like that.
Did they write notes to you?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I know that when I was growing up and I was in the 8th grade, I was the only girl that got 3 boxes of candy from 3 different boys, and the girls were all mad.
What about Valentine's?
Valentine's, I got Valentine's all the time, and I got little music boxes and things like that when I was in the 8th grade.
But you were quite a popular person.
Well, the thing is that we used to go to the beach on summers. The Negretes had an army truck, and they charged us 50 cents.
Tell me about
The
that.
Negretes had the store down where Aguilera used to have the store on N Street before they built that underpass.
Yes,
They had a
yes.
store right there. Aguilera store, they took over the store, and the Negretes lived there. And they had a big army
What was
truck.
the name of the person?
I don't remember them. I just remember the one that went in my classroom, Ralph and Albert Negrete.
Yeah, they were good. They played guitar and they were
Yeah,
good singers.
and his sister was a singer in bands.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
yeah.
yes, yes,
So
yes.
they used to handle that little store there, and they used to take us to the beaches, Venice Beach and Long Beach and all those places, 50 cents
In their
during
big
the
truck?
summer. In the big truck. All of us in the big truck.
And how many would fit?
Oh, God, about 20, 25 kids.
Oh, it was a good party.
Yeah, yeah.
A good
So we
party.
used to go to the beaches with the Negretes in the army truck.
Well, back then, we didn't have the freeways.
Oh, no. And
You
then
had-
they didn't have to be on a seat belt or things
You
like
didn't
that.
have
so,
seat belts
no.
tampoco, ¿verdad?
Yeah.
And you didn't have to be covered or anything like that.
No, no.
Yeah.
So we used to go.
So you leave Colton,
Mm-hmm.
La Cadena, and then Riverside,
Mm-hmm.
go through all the signals in Riverside,
Yeah.
Magnolia,
Oh, yeah.
and then hit Corona.
Mm-hmm. Corona del Mar. I remember all the beaches that we went to when we were
Uh-huh,
young. Yeah.
uh-huh.
And then there was an incident that happened when I used to get really sunburned and get blotches in my face. So they buried me in the sand, and I just had a hat and was buried in the sand. And the boys were playing volleyball, and they kept stumbling over me. And then Albert Negrete said, "What is this Pulga doing here?" So that's how come they named me Pulga.
Oh, your nickname was Pulga?
Yeah.
Flea.
Yeah, the
Pulita.
flea. Yeah, that's what they called me because he said I looked like a sand flea laying there in the sand.
Well, tell me, who of the people that went to the beach with you, can you name some of the people?
Oh, Vera Rosas, Alice Melchor, Esther Beltran, Stella Beltran, Carmen Negrete, the Negretes, and Alice Ben Rostro. Mostly all the young people that hung around together went to the beaches.
All together.
Yeah, all together. We used to
Yeah.
have a lot of fun at the beach.
Yeah, so that was when you were an eighth grader?
Uh-huh,
Uh-huh.
yeah.
There must have been what, the
1948.
48?
Mm-hmm.
Let me ask you, también, you said you were, the tortilla store was on 7th Street.
Mm-hmm.
And back then, Esther, there was a lot of activity
Oh,
on
7th Street was jumping. It had 3 bars, the Sombrero, it had 3 liquor stores, little restaurants, and the Panaderia Martinez, and my grandmother's store, and the Morales store across the street is still there. And a lot of places, but I remember living right...
Did they have the pool hall?
Yeah, they had the pool hall over there
Uh-huh.
near the Bolero, or what is it, across the street or
Across from the
something. Yeah,
Bolero on
yeah.
7th and N Street?
Yeah, and I remember a lot of things that happened there, a lot of killings, a lot of, right next door to us was a Sarape. and-
But they had the dances a year,
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So every weekend was Friday, Saturday,
Jumping,
and Sunday.
jumping.
It was jumping.
And then everybody fighting. I remember I saw 2 people die on 7th Street, and it was awful. And because my mother made me go look for my dad, because my dad was always in the bars.
Uh-huh.
And I hated going there, but that's why I saw this man got killed there. And
Uh-huh.
So he was laying there when I
Yeah.
got there, and it was awful.
Well, the tortilleria was there, and next to the tortilla
Tortilleria.
was Martinez Market,
Yeah.
Martinez Bakery.
Mm-hmm.
Then you cross the street, there was Tucker's.
Tuckers, yeah.
And then next to Tucker's was Caldera.
Calderas.
Calderas.
And then there was a little restaurant and before the hair cutting shop, the
Cruz.
Cruz.
The barber
uh-huh.
shop.
Yeah, the barber shop, and a little restaurant there before the other bar, and then oof,
The
too many
Bolero
stores.
was there, in the
Mhm.
corner.
Yeah.
And then, do you remember the Tivoli? The Tivoli?
No, I don't remember that one, but I know that there was a lot of different ones where
Yeah.
my father used to go in, so that's where I had to go.
What was the name of that, Henry? Tivoli or?
There was a Tivoli and there was a Teatro Hidalgo that we
Do you-
were trying to,
Hmm.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
said that the Teatro Hidalgo was on the corner of 7th and N Street.
N
In
Street.
that area, ¿no te acuerdas?
Yeah, well, there was a lot of stuff in N Street too, and O Street at that time. So I remember some of them, but most of them that I didn't go into, I don't remember.
And then you had the Navarro store
The Navarros, yeah.
on the corner of
Yeah.
0 and 7.
Mm-hmm,
And then you go down 7th
mm-hmm,
and you have the hardware,
yeah.
Murataya's
Morataya's Hardware, yeah.
Uh-huh.
And then the Perez gasoline station,
Chayo Perez
Mhm.
gasoline station.
yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah. So anyway, 7th Street was
Oh,
quite a place.
every
wasn't it?
Friday, Saturday, and Sunday night it was jumping.
Yeah.
A lot of things happening around that area,
Uh-huh.
yeah.
And so you were in the middle of all this then?
Oh, yeah, yeah. But we were busy cutting up the things for the next day, you know, for the
Uh-huh.
tamales and the menudo, so we used to hear everything that happened in the bar, so
Uh-huh.
spilled out over in the street.
And then across the store, the Olivas.
Oh, the Olivas lived
Yeah,
there,
tell me about the Olivas. You had, ¿cómo se llama? Angie? Angie Oliva was the oldest, I think.
Angel,
Uh-huh.
Angel, and, yeah, I remember Manuel and Angel and Rudy, and I don't remember the oldest one, Agustin, I remember some of them that,
Uh-huh.
but they always lived across the street.
Uh-huh.
I didn't know them personally, but just by talking to them, you know,
Uh-huh.
when I saw them on the street. Yeah. And Stella, their sister Stella.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Now, you said you were your grandma made you go to church.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Now, you know, you were related to Father Lukey,
Mhm.
Father Pete Lukey Jr.,
Mhm.
and Father Lukey was quite a kid, ¿verdad?
Oh, yeah.
He was quite a kid.
Everybody said, how can he become a priest if he's a dancer? Well, what does dancing have to do with becoming a priest? You know, if you
Yeah.
like dancing, because he was a character. He used to put on shows for us when we were little, and he used to, dance and sing and all the time and tell us stories when we were little. And he used to put on shows, like I said. He loved doing that when he was young. And then he was an altar boy, and of course he liked that, and I guess he got the calling to become a priest. So.
But at high school, he was one of the cheerleaders.
Oh, the cheerleaders in high school.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, he loved doing all those things. You know, he was like, I said, you should have gone into show business.
And then he went to Valley College.
Yeah, he went to Valley College, and there, and then he went to the seminary
Now, where was the seminary?
in San Diego.
Oh, he went to San Diego for the seminary.
San Diego, yeah.
And he was ordained.
Yeah.
Do you remember what year he was ordained? Was it in the 60s?
62, I think. I'm not sure if it's
Uh-huh.
62. Uh-huh.
And then we were lucky to have him come back to Colton.
Yeah, in 69, he
In
came back to
69 to
Colton.
Colton to be the priest there at San Salvador.
And he was there for about 9, almost 10 years.
Yeah. And then he saw the need to build a new church,
Yeah.
¿verdad?
Yeah, because when Father Valencia died, there had been a lot of money that Father Valencia was sending to the bishop to keep for the San Salvador church.
That's in San Diego.
Yeah, San Diego. But Monsignor went to, before he was just Father Luque, he went to the bishop in San Diego, made appointments to talk to him about the possibility of building a new church because there was a need for a new church. And he went for months and months. Every day that he made an appointment, he was sitting there, and the bishop never saw him. They told him, oh, he's busy. For months and months, he went through the same thing. So he decided that he was going to take, matters into his own hands and build a church without the bishop's permission, and he did.
So he did not get permission
No.
from the
From the
Diocese of San Diego?
No,
But we were part of that before.
yeah.
But he tried.
Yeah, he tried months and months, probably even a year, to get an audience with the bishop.
Uh-huh.
Because he had to find that money that was missing, and he found the money that the Father Valencia had sent, that the people had donated for years and years. And he got all the people together, and all the people, the parishioners and other people came to do all the work. They did all the labor, all the work.
But when did he decide? When did he decide? He got tired of.
In 1972, I think he decided that we should build a new church. So he started doing all those things in 1972.
In 1972, and he rallied the South Colton
Oh,
community.
yeah, the community got together, and people that knew how to do electricity and plumbing and things like that, they got together and they built the church.
I know my dad did a lot of cement.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of cement work
Yeah.
for the church.
Yeah, a lot of people donated their time, and the women of the church also made food for the workers. And they got together. We made barbecues, fiestas, cake sales, everything to raise money for the church.
Uh-huh. And where did he have services while this was going on?
He went, I think, to Wilson School, McKinley School, different schools. He had held at masses on Sunday.
And there's a lot of there. According to that booklet that you have there, let me see that booklet on the church. That one, that one. That's one that you have in your hand in front of you? Is that the one that you saw from you?
Yeah, this is the booklet that when they did the dedication of the church, March 14, 1976.
March 14, 1976? Yeah, there's a list of all the donors there.
Oh, yeah, there's the donors, people that donated their time, and the merchants that donated things, there's all the
Yeah, when I
people.
looked at that list,
Yeah.
Esther, I counted 400, almost over 400 people.
And there was a lot of them that weren't there, they had donated anonymously and things like that, but they had a lot of people donations and workers.
Yeah, and also, in building the church, who was the architect, do you know?
The name is here, all the information is here about the architecture and who was instrumental in, it has about the church, the first church, churches that were built. This is the architectural person that did it.
From Long Beach, eh?
Yeah.
Bernard Conkley from Long Beach.
And then people donated money to build the windows, the windows. Every family donated a certain amount to put a window for their family.
And what was the theme of the windows, do you know?
It had some kind of a, what do you call it?
Well, yeah, according to that booklet,
A stained glass windows they
Yes.
had, yeah.
that the
They put
theme,
14 of them.
14 of them, that the themes were our culture,
Yeah.
our Indian culture.
Oh, yeah, the Aztec and the Virgen de Guadalupe, all that thing. He had the altar with the Aztec culture, then, but they removed it. They didn't want it, so they removed it from the church.
Uh,
So,
So it took him a good 4 years to build
Yeah.
the church then. And he did it without the permission of the
without the
bishop.
permission of the bishop, but then the bishop wrote him and told him that, well, he was glad he had built a church after all.
¿No lo regañaron?
No.
They didn't scold him?
They got mad at first, but then they realized that the people were together and they were building it, so.
Uh-huh.
what could they do?
But did he ever get his money back from the
Well, they
diocese?
found some of the money for the supplies and stuff, but I don't know how much money, he got or what was missing or how much it cost at the end. I don't know.
Esther, the other thing is, brand new church,
Mm-hmm.
beautiful church. When did they start playing mariachi music at the church? Do you remember? And was Father Luque aware, or did he give permission to have mariachis at the church?
Well, I think he got it when they had the dedication. That's when that happened, and he also had dancers, Aztec dancers and stuff. And I think you have to get permission, but I'm not sure if he got the permission to do it. But he wanted to put some of our culture into the mass.
So he got mariachis to play at the services.
Well, not all the services, just certain special occasions.
And also, there was a period when I was a little boy, I went to church and I couldn't understand them, Esther. I don't know what they were talking about. It was Latin.
Oh yeah, Latin. No, Latin. Well, we just went to church and that was what was it. But then when they decided to say it, not omit the Latin, a lot of people were upset. But now you understand what's happening with all the things that are happening in the altar and things. You understand. So I'm glad they went into Spanish and English.
Okay. So, do you remember when that took place?
No, I don't remember
No.
exactly, but it was quite a number of years back.
And even now, Esther, who are the people that go to church now? They're in San Salvador.
There's not very many of the old people, just certain ones, and there's a lot of new people I don't know. A lot of people from Mexico and South America that I don't know, but they go there and they have services. I think the people go more to the Spanish ones because they have a need. They have two or three masses in Spanish and only one in English.
So it's changed quite a bit
Oh, yeah.
over the last several
Yeah.
years.
Yeah,
And the English Mass is what time?
I go at 10
At 10
because
o'clock?
that's when the English Mass.
Yeah.
And
And
the other one is at 8 and 12 for the
those are Spanish. the
Spanish, and then they
services.
also have hold one on Saturdays at 6 because
Uh-huh.
they need 3 masses in Spanish.
Okay.
Mhm.
So they have them Saturdays also?
Yeah,
Yeah.
so.
Boy, it's really changed, hasn't
Oh
it?
yeah, it's changed a lot, and we have the priests that are there. They came from Guatemala, and they look so young. Little priests. They look like they're little teenage kids, and they're pretty good. In Spanish is how they give a homily with Spanish and with all their heart, and because that's their main language, and they're trying to learn English. So the English they have a hard time in English.
So there's very few people that help build the church that are attending the church
Yeah,
now.
no, there's most of them are passed away, and a lot of them I don't know if they're able to come because a lot of them are sick. So,
Now, do they still have Jamaicas and?
well, they have church fiesta. They just had one in September. They have a church fiesta, but it's not like the old fiestas it used to be. So, it's to raise money, and I don't know where that money goes for or whatever. I don't know.
But they still have some fundraisers.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
once a year.
Talking about fundraisers, tell me about Las Fiestas Patrias.
Oh, las fiestas patrias. I remember my Uncle Pete and Padilla and all those people involved in, I don't know, the queen, and they had to sell these many tickets and to become a queen. And
So the person sold the most tickets was the
yeah,
queen.
was a queen. Yeah, yeah,
And each of the girls was sponsored by a different civic group.
yeah, yeah. And they sold tickets, and they got whoever had the most. And then Tula Padilla used to have the kids, say little verses in Spanish about the colors of the flag and the Mexican flag and stuff. She had a little group, and she taught all the kids to say things at the 16th of September.
So
Do
she
you
was.
remember where they had the fiestas? Where they celebrated?
They used to have them over there at the patio on O Street, and as you go to Wilson School, that little area right there.
Patio Supremo.
Yeah, and then they held them over there where the new market is, the Sombrero Market on N Street.
Did they use both locations, or did they use?
Well, if wherever they did it, and then they also did it on where the parking lot for the Sombrero is. They used to hold the fiestas there, wherever they could have a space to do the fiestas. And one thing remember about Father Valencia, he was a character. When he did Judas for the Easter, he sent away, they made a big giant man with cohetes all inside, and he used to dance him around and dancing and hanging him by a rope, and then he used to light it up, and we had a thing, quemar a Judas,
Every Easter,
every Easter.
burning of Judas.
Yeah.
Burning of Judas.
Yeah, I remember those things. And he had, when it was during Lent, he used to wash the feet of all the 12 apostles, and he used to do all the rituals like that, like old time. And I remember all of that, the siete palabras and all that he put on the show with,
I don't know what siete palabras are. What are siete
Oh,
palabras?
when Jesus was dying on the cross, what he said before he died and things like that, and he used to present this little thing, like a little show with what was happening between, and how they used to. Now they have it sometimes. They have like people coming and they take the cross, and the man is, he goes all around for the Stations of the Cross. Stop at every house and do the Stations of the Cross.
So he would do that.
Yeah.
So he would do that.
Yeah, and some of the people still do it nowadays. I went this last one, they just had it in the altar. They just put a sheet, and they did the thing in the back, like the shadows. You could see the shadows of what they were doing out there when they were crucifying Jesus.
So it was quite a
Oh,
production.
yeah, so we
Well, I
really
remember Father
enjoyed.
Valencia had a little varilla,
Oh, yeah.
a little
Oh,
branch.
yeah, the little.
the little branch, and we would taunt him
Uh-huh.
by trying to get close to Judas,
Uh-huh.
and he would
Oh,
chase
he'd
us.
chase us with a little. Yeah, I remember that. There was also an incident I remember, because we used to go to the Guadalupana to go for catechism, and then it was getting too small to have it, so we used to have all the classes in the barn. There was a barn next to the San Salvador church, and we used to sit there in benches and do our whatever we had to do for learning, for First Communion, confirmation. And I remember it was during the confirmation, I think it was in the 46, 47, I'm not sure, that I made my confirmation. And he had everybody, and he asked the question for everybody: how do you get to heaven? And then he asked one person, how do you get to heaven? She said, by keeping the commandments. Wrong. Inkate 4F. So he had us,
Íncate.
he had us all lining up, everybody, because I don't know what the answer he wanted. And then he asked me, he said, how do you get to heaven? I said, by loving God, loving each other, and obeying the commandments, coming to, Inkate 4F. It was awful. We were all crying, and then I went home crying. And my grandfather, who was such a quiet man, I hardly ever knew my grandfather was around. He used to make the nistamal and do the masa, grind the masa for my grandmother. He saw me crying. He says, ¿Qué tienes? And I said, el padre me dijo, no va a ser mi confirmación. ¿Por qué? Dijo que era 4F. Dice, ¿qué es eso? He called my Aunt Dolores to explain what a 4F was. If my Aunt Dolores told him what it was. So then he says, ¿por qué te dijo eso? And then he said, Dolores, le dijo a mi abuelita, cuando venga el padre por su comida, dile que quiero hablar con él. So he was always a quiet person, so I was so amazed that he would talk to the priest and say, ¿por qué no va a ser la confirmación mi nieta? And then, porque es 4F. Y dijo, oh no. Dijo, mire, aquí está el catequismo. Se lo dio. And then he called my Aunt Dolores to ask me every question in the catechism book, and I answered every question right. And he says, ahí está, todas las palabras que le enseñaron, todas las cuestiones y todo eso ya lo sabe. And then he said, okay, ya no eres 4F.
Pues qué era 4F?
4F was when, you went into the service and you didn't qualify because you had some kind of a thing that you couldn't go into the service. That was a 4F. And that was during the war when he said everybody was crying 4Fs, and then, está bueno, ya no son 4Fs. I mean, he was a character, so we had that experience, and I said it was really amazing, all the things that happened to all the 4Fs. We still made our confirmation.
But I do remember him saying, Íncate.
Yeah. Inkatiay 4F. I remember.
Yeah. You mentioned Pete Lukey Sr., Pete
Uh-huh.
Jr.'s father. He was also quite a person, ¿verdad?
Yeah, well, he was involved in a lot of organizations, the Lions Club, the
He was
Socialistas.
president of the Lions Club back in
Yeah.
'52.
Yeah, and
he was the
then
first Mexican that was
Yeah.
president, belonged to the Lions Club,
Uh-huh.
and was president of the Lions Club.
he was always going to different clubs and different meetings and stuff like that, and with Manuel Padilla and some other people that I didn't know. But he was always involved, and he was one of the first ones to start working at the cement plant.
Uh-huh.
So my father got to work at the cement plant because of my uncle. So, but he was involved and always telling us to run for Queens. I said, no, I don't want to go sell
Oh, you
tickets.
didn't run for
No,
Queen?
no, I didn't want to. My sister Clara did,
Uh-huh.
but I didn't.
Uh-huh. And Clara was the baby of the
Yeah,
family.
the baby of the family.
Right.
Yeah.
Do you remember what year she ran? Sorry.
Oh, let's see.
Must have been 60, you know?
Yeah, well, I'm 7 years older than Clara, so she's about 73 right now.
Yeah. It was in the
So-
60s, 62.
Yeah, the 60s
Yeah.
since when,
Yeah.
yeah. So,
Well, getting back to Pete, you know, he was very active with Manuel Padilla and Tony Garcia and Angel Oliva.
oh yeah, the
And
Olivas.
with Pascual Oliva, very community oriented, you know, trying to people to run for office, trying to get people to participate in fiestas patrias.
Oh yeah.
And so anyway, he worked at the cement plant. When did he start running for office, or how did he get appointed to be a councilman?
I think it was when somebody was going to finish and didn't want to run again or something, is when he got to go in there. I don't remember if it was in the 50s or 50s.
Yeah, I think Johnny Martinez, Jeremias, the boxer, had been a councilman for
Yeah.
3 years, from 48 to 51 or so. And then he didn't want to finish his term, so he recommended that Pete be appointed the council, on the council, and Pete accepted. And then from then on, he was quite active in Colton business, ¿verdad?
Oh yeah, yeah. He was always involved in something or other, always in meetings, I remember.
And even now, they named a center at Veterans Park after him, the Pete Lukey Senior Center.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, how was he related to you?
He married my Aunt Ermelinda, my father's sister.
Okay, okay.
So, because like I said, my tia Ermelinda, my tio Pete, they got married, and then Jess Lukey married my tia Lola, who's my father's sister, and then my tia Chepa married Jesus, my father's brother. So 3 Lukeys married 3 Hernandez.
Oh, that's how it happened.
Yeah.
That's how you were related.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how you were related. Te iba a preguntar, how did you meet your husband?
Oh, my husband, I met him at a party,
Mm-hmm.
and he was ready to go into the service when I
Okay.
met him, so he went into the service.
And what year was that? Yes, sir.
52, 51, 52, I don't remember exactly when he went into the service. But he was a military man, served 33 years in the military.
So it was a career for him.
Career, yeah, he
Yeah.
was in the reserves, after he got out, he was in the reserves, and he was always going TDY someplace, to Germany, to Puerto Rico, and he went for the Panama invasion. He was one of the interrogators in the Panama invasion,
Mm-hmm.
so.
And then prior to meeting your husband, you said that the dances were just great.
Oh, great, the big bandera is beautiful.
Tell us about the big band era, and the bands that came to our
Oh,
area.
they came to Urbita Ballroom, later called Valley Ballroom, and then the Swing Auditorium in downtown San Bernardino. That's where they held all this. I saw the big bands there. Harry James, Duke Ellington,
Swing
Les Brown.
Auditorium is now where the library is in San
Yeah,
Bernardino.
yeah, the
Okay.
libraries. Swing
And
Auditorium.
Urbita, where was Urbita?
Urbita was where the Inland Center is.
Okay,
And later it was called Valley Ballroom, but it was Urbita when I went there.
and the bands were, which bands were they?
Oh, Harry James, Gene Krupa, every big band name I saw when I was young, and they only charged about $2, $3 to go in.
Uh-huh.
So it was pretty good.
So you had a wonderful
Oh,
time
yeah,
going
swing.
to the big bands.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
and you were a good swing dancer.
Oh, I loved swing dancing when I was young, and I never danced after I got married.
So after you met your husband, got married, and he was in service,
Mm-hmm.
and did you have any children?
Yeah, I had 4 children, Gloria, Arthur, Regina, and Eric.
Uh-huh.
Gloria died in 2011, and Arthur died in 2013. And Regina, just the one that I have here, because my son Eric has been in prison for many years.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah, I was gonna ask you, getting back to the dancing and the
Mhm.
big bands, who were your partners your girl partners that went to those dances with
oh,
you?
my cousin Rosa, my tia
Rosa is
Dolores.
married to Tommy?
Yeah, Tommy
Okay.
Castorena. And my sisters, cousins, we all went to the dances.
So they're good times, eh?
Oh, yeah, good times, yeah. I
Well-
went with my aunts, my cousins, and friends that could go. Sometimes they let them go, sometimes they didn't, so it was.
And who would drive there?
We would go on the bus
You're kidding?
or on a taxi. Yeah, because my cousin Maria, she worked making tortillas, so she had more money, so sometimes we went on a taxi.
Uh-huh.
Mhm.
Taxi from Colton to Urbita?
Or to Swing, yeah.
You guys were adventurous.
Oh, yeah.
You guys were
Yeah.
adventurous. Yeah.
We
¿Qué
had
te
a
iba a
good time.
preguntar? You mentioned Tommy Castorena,
Mhm,
the Castorena family.
mhm.
And you mentioned that your dad was a good ball player?
Oh, yeah, I think he came out in the Colton annual 1925, 1926, and it mentions him and the Castorenas that used to play for Colton High.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, so my dad came out in he was a good pitcher, so they have a little write-up on him during that time.
So he played for Colton High School?
Yeah, he played for Colton High School, and then when he got married to my mother, he used to play in Orange County, in La Habra. He used to play for the Juvenil, where Chuy Flores was one of the ones that went into the big leagues. They played all together with my tío Rufino Gonzalez and my uncle John Guzman. They all used to play in the juveniles.
So they were very
Active in playing baseball.
baseball.
Hmm.
Was that on Sundays?
Saturdays or Sundays they used to
Uh-huh.
play, yeah.
Uh-huh.
Before there's a big write-up in Orange County about the Chuy Flores that he used to go pick oranges, and my dad was a lemon and orange picker. They were most of the ones that played in the leagues. So,
Did you see them play?
yeah,
Where?
I was a little girl in La Habra. La Habra. Yeah. But he didn't make it into the big leagues because he just...
It's interesting that you mentioned that the citrus pickers.
They were mostly the ones that were involved playing ball.
I'll be darned.
Hmm.
I'll be darned.
And I don't know, that's why I mentioned that book that's out there that says the baseball players of Orange County. I don't know if it has anything to do with Chuy Flores, because I have a big write-up on Chuy Flores and the people that worked, that played ball during that time with him.
We'll check it out.
Yeah,
We'll
because
check
I
it
have
out.
a big page from La Habra News that
Uh-huh.
they wrote up.
And you mentioned that your dad had a collection of uniforms. And
No, not my dad, my husband. He had a team in the 60s, late 60s. And Arthur donated, or I don't know if he donated or gave it to Graciano to put down because...
Graciano Gomez. Of
Yeah,
the
Graciano Gomez.
newspapers.
Yeah, because my husband had a team during that time, and they said that they wanted to know if there were any Mexicans playing in teams. And my husband had a team, but I don't know if they were the Athletics or something. I don't remember the name. He had a banner and the roster for the people that played, and the Anglos and blacks and Mexicans played in his team. So I don't know. I never was involved with that part, but he had a team in San
So
Bernardino.
he was very active with his team then.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Talking about baseball, did you ever go to the Caldera swimming pool?
Oh yeah, yeah. When we couldn't go down that way during the, we wanted to go on a Sunday or Saturday, we used to go to Calderas
Uh-huh.
to the plunge.
Uh-huh.
Hmm.
And that was close to the house,
Oh
right?
yeah, close in Fifth Street.
Fifth and Fog or
Yeah.
someplace?
Yeah. The reason we used to go to the plunge because all the boys went to the Cuadrito and all the sequia and all that stuff to go swimming, and we went a couple of times, but we screamed because there was a lot of lizards, and we wanted to go to the plunge instead. So
El Cuadrito,
Yeah.
that's where all the guys went?
yeah, yeah. I don't know. Was a little square someplace in what do they call it?
Los Coninos.
Coninos.
Los
Uh-huh.
Coninos. Los
Yeah.
Coninos. Conino Beach.
Yeah.
So you went to Conino Beach and te asustaron.
Oh yeah, the lizards. There were a lot of lizards, so we were afraid of the lizards.
Uh-huh.
So we jumped out of there.
So that was that.
Hmm.
That was that.
yeah.
Did you see any of the baseballs that were played in Caldera Hall?
No, not there, just to
No.
the Mercury's. We used to go, because my Uncle Pete was an announcer at the Mercury's, and we used to go, you know, when they played ball, we used to go.
Oh, that's
to,
right.
To the park.
Pete Lukey Sr. was
Yeah.
the announcer for
Yeah.
the baseball games.
Yeah, Mercury's, and then my Uncle Tony played for the Mercury's too later on, so,
Uh-huh.
yeah.
That was Tony
Tony Hernandez.
Hernandez.
Mhm.
So he's also a Colton High School
Oh,
graduate.
yeah, yeah. My Uncle Tony was a good baseball, he was the only one that had 4 stripes on his thing because he was good at all the sports he played.
Ah,
Mhm.
very
Because
good.
I remember all the girls, we took the sweaters for our cousins or our brothers, and I took my Uncle Tony's, and he's the only one that had 4 stripes.
For Letterman's.
Yeah, Letterman sweaters, yeah.
Fourth stripe was what, Frank? 4-year Letterman?
No, it was for sports,
4 sports that he measured in, and he played football, baseball,
basketball.
basketball,
track.
and track.
Ha,
Mhm,
that was pretty good.
mhm.
Well, you know, your little brother John was also very gymnastic. ¿Cómo se llama? Your little brother, I forgot his name, or your little cousin.
Which one?
He just lost his wife.
Oh, Raymond, my brother.
Raymond.
Raymond, my brother. Yeah.
He was
yeah.
good also in sports.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. And his son Raymond Jr. used to play football for Colton High. He was really good until he got sick. So,
Uh-huh.
but was pretty good.
So Esther, you
Baseball.
were busy.
Oh yeah,
You
I
lived
had,
on 7th Street, you went dancing with the big
Oh, yeah.
bands, you went...
yeah, I had a
you
lot of fun.
picked all kinds of fruit,
Oh yeah,
you
got a lot
Went-
of experience.
went to Los Coninos. Yeah.
Yeah.
You
So,
were popular in high school.
well, not in high school, in junior high. High school, we got lost with all the, you know, there was a lot of angles that had all the clubs and stuff. We only belonged to the Pan American Club.
Well, tell me about the Pan American Club.
Well, we had our meetings and we put on a show, dancing or whatever we did.
Who was your sponsor?
I think Miss Pesquera.
The Spanish teacher.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So that's the only club I belonged to in high school. But I was a good shorthand writer. I was the best one in school.
Were you?
Oh yeah, I got awards and I still have them for writing 120 words a minute in Greg shorthand.
Ah,
And I devised my own Spanish shorthand. I can write shorthand. When I'm sitting down watching TV, I'm writing in Spanish the shorthand, just so I won't forget.
and Esther, you're doing a history of your family.
Hmm.
Tell us about that.
Oh, I'm writing about my family because I saw the similarity between my mother's family and my grandmother's family. They all were entrepreneurs, and they came and they established their own stores, their own things, and I want to know. You know, I want my children to know about their background, where they came from, and all the things that happened, and why they did this, and why they did something else, and why they became successful in the first place.
Mhm.
Because they were very hardworking. And I'm writing both the Guzman family and the Hernandez family.
How far are you along on your project?
Almost through. But,
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah, almost through.
You've gathered pictures to go with the story? That's great.
Hmm. Yeah, I'm putting pictures, and like I was telling Lily, that I remember the day I was born, so I wrote a little thing on the day I was born, what I felt when I was being born and stuff, and Arthur said I was crazy because nobody knows that.
Well, you experience
I experienced
being in
something.
the womb. Tell us about
Yeah.
that.
Well, I experienced myself. I don't know. I remember that I was in this dark place, and I don't know if it was a dream or it was something I remembered. I don't know. I remember I was in this dark place, and I used to hear noises all the time and move around, and just like I was in a dream. And then I felt one time that I was being pushed little by little out, and then I felt on the top of my head, I felt cold. And I guess that's when I was born. And I remember falling into the arms of this lady, which was a midwife that was helping my mother deliver me in the bedroom. And I remember this old lady, and I don't know if she was Dominican or if she was black, because she had curly hair and she was dark and had big earrings, and she had an apron that was little chilies on it, and she smelled like smoke. And she cut my umbilical cord, wrapped me up in a pink blanket, gave it to my mother. And I remember all the surroundings in the room. I remember the bed and the bedspread being folded on one side, my mother under the sheets. And I remember my great-grandmother, my grandmother, and somebody else, Flora, one of my mother's friends, they were all in the room when I was born. And I remember the chest of drawers, the little jar with peacock feathers, little knickknacks that my mother had, like a little chicken with that you put little trinkets in.
Uh-huh.
I remember all those things, and I don't know. And I remember being born in the blue house that belonged to my great-grandmother, my abuela, because there were 6 houses on the lot, and my father and mother lived on the blue house. And I remember being born there in the blue house. But I don't know if it's just a dream or if it's something that I experienced. I don't know, but I remember every detail in there.
Well, there's some evidence that especially girls
Hmm.
can preserve memories from their very early childhood. I know
Mhm.
that my sister has surprised my father with being able to describe in detail
Hmm.
places that he never would have expected her to remember.
Yeah.
And I've read that women,
Well, those are my memories, and I also had a memory in the same house, which is not very well, to tell about it because I was about 8 or 9 months little girl, and my father was drunk, and he came, and my mother was gonna leave him because they had an argument, and he got mad, so he got a knife, and he told my mother he was gonna stab me. And I remember my grandfather, my grandmother, my great-grandmother, my Uncle John, and my uncle, and I don't know because I was born after my uncle Isaías, and I saw him with his little pecheritas and a little sweater with stripes on it, and they were trying to take me away from my dad, and my father wouldn't let me go, so then my mother got a azucarera from the table and threw it at him and hit him right here, so he staggered and threw the knife, and my uncle Isaías was biting my dad on the leg. And then they took me, and I have those memories, and I don't know how I would remember that because I wasn't there. I mean, I wasn't old enough to remember all that, but I do remember a lot of things.
I'll be darned.
I have a lot of stories to write, from La Habra.
Well, I'm delighted that you started.
Yeah.
Yeah, we talked about meeting your husband, and he
Mhm.
was from San Bernardino.
Oh, yeah. Mhm.
Uh-huh. And you were married, and then after the kids grew up, you decided you went back to you went
Yeah,
to
I went back
you,
to
you
school.
volunteered. You volunteered.
Volunteered in the schools because I wanted to keep an eye on Eric. He was a troublemaker, and so I went to keep an eye on him, and I volunteered, and then I-
What was it? Elementary school.
elementary school, Grant School, and Paul J. Rogers. And then
Okay.
I got a job as a teacher's aide at Paul J. Rogers. And me and Josie Hernandez were going to Valley College at the time, studying sociology and psychology. And so I graduated in '76 from Valley College, and I got the opportunity to go into the Saber program.
The Saber program from Laverne.
Yeah, Laverne University. And so we used to go every day, 4 to 10, every day to Laverne. Go
Monday
to
through
school.
Friday.
Monday through Friday, and sometimes even on Saturdays when we had special projects to do. So,
4 p.m. to 10 p.m.
mhm.
Yeah.
And so I graduated from Laverne in '78.
And how many students were participating in the project?
100 started in the project, and 80-some graduated from the project.
Oh, it's a good retention rate.
Yes.
It's a very good retention
They were going to
rate.
write a thing about it, but they interviewed us, but I never found out from Laverne what they did with the information of why the program was so successful in Saber.
So mostly people that participate in the program were kind of like you,
Yeah.
homemakers.
Homemakers,
moms.
married, moms, their children were grown, and a lot of them, like Connie Cabrera, she was in my group. She was a little bit older than us, but she made it and went through school, and we all struggled, but I think the success rate on this program was that we were all together, and we talked about our problems, we talked about school problems and projects, and we got together and had coffee and discussed, and we had a lot of fun, and we were very, very close, and we helped each other.
So a good support group.
Yeah, I
It was
think
a
that
good
was it.
support group.
Uh-huh.
Did you have support from did the students have support from their husbands?
No. A lot of divorces.
¿Por qué no?
Because the husbands were jealous and they said they needed to dedicate their time to their children and staying at home and cleaning. And because my husband, I had a hard time with my husband too, because he said, no, I had to stay home with the kids. I was too old. And I said, no, I'm going to do something for myself. So I persevered, and I had a lot of problems trying to become a teacher, but at home, problems at home, but I persevered, and I finally got it.
So the Mexican culture kicked in
Hmm.
with a male.
Oh, yeah, the males. A lot of them had to drop out because the husbands didn't want them to be going to school.
Mm.
Hmm.
Hmm.
But a lot of them became master teachers. Some of them became principals, so a lot of it was very successful because we wanted something, and I think we got the opportunity, and we said, we'll go for it, and we'll do it, and we have to do it. We have to stay in it.
That was the influence of your grandmother and your mother.
Mm-hmm.
that gave
Right
you
there.
the strength.
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah.
and I'm not surprised, Esther, because even now when we have our new students that are coming in from Mexico, especially,
Mhm.
they still hang on to the culture
Mhm.
that they don't want their girls to participate
Mhm.
in activities that would get them away from the home.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where did
Yeah.
you end up teaching?
My first year I did Crestmore, and then I went to the junior high for the 3 or 4 years. I don't remember how it was at junior high when they had 6th graders up there. And then I went to Ellis Burney, and I was there for 10 years. And then I went to Zimmerman for my last 5. So I had a very, very good time teaching. Especially I enjoyed Zimmerman because I taught kindergarten, 1st grade, and I got to get them when they're very young and put them out.
So you had fun with those
Oh,
grade
yes,
level.
I loved it. I
Uh-huh.
loved it. And I didn't want to retire because I thought, no, I'm not going to retire until I'm 70. So I was 67 at the time I retired, only because my husband had left me his money, and it was building too much interest in paying for the government. I said, no, I'd better retire. That's why I retired. But I wanted to stay on longer.
Mm.
As a teacher, did you teach, you were teaching elementary grades,
Mhm.
but did you ever include anything cultural as part of your
Oh, yeah.
teaching?
Yeah, all the time. And because I always had the children that spoke Spanish, and we did Spanish and English in my classroom all the time, so they became bilingual. Mhm. But I really enjoyed teaching.
And you also saw the district, like so many districts, start to drop or pull away from
Yeah.
bilingual
Yeah.
education.
Yeah, and I said, why, if it's successful, a lot of my children, they learn how to write and read English and Spanish, both languages. From the kindergarten, 1st grade, it was fantastic what I saw, their growth in both languages.
Mm.
So,
So that was good, wonderful experience. for
oh,
you.
yeah,
Yeah.
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 And to this day, I miss it. I said, what am I going to do? But I taught my great-grandchildren before they went to school, so they would be prepared. Yeah.
Are they doing well?
Oh, yeah, yeah. Yeah, one of them, Jared, is coming here to Cal State, one of my great-grandchildren. So,
Well, he's following his grandma's footsteps.
well, I hope so, because I emphasize, the only one that went back to school when she was older was Gloria, my oldest. She
Uh-huh.
got her AA, and she was working on her BA, but she passed away, so. But she's the only one that followed through. Because all of them, I keep telling them, you need an education, you need this to be successful. And they think it's too hard.
Life is hard, right?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Como dice el dicho, la vida es dura,
Mhm.
pero más duro que la aguanta.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
Life is hard, but the guy the
Mhm.
person that bears with it is much tougher.
Mhm. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I was going to ask you, you said that when you went to Colton High School,
Mhm.
that the Anglo girls would say Mexican girls, you say, go back to where.
No, they used to say, oh, hi. They used to write in my annual or tell me the cute little Mexican girl from across the tracks. And I never paid attention to it until I'm older now that I said, well, why did they write that to me? Because like I said, I love high school. I don't know how anybody can say they don't like it, because it's either work in the fields or go to high school. So I'd rather go to high school and do something. And I remember with this one teacher that I think maybe that's why I became a teacher, because she was Mrs. Serrano, but her name was Miss Weiss.
Yes.
She was my English teacher,
Yeah.
and she married Serrano.
She married
Yeah.
Tirso Serrano.
Yeah. So she was the one that told me, you should go to college, and you have a great mind. You should use that great mind to go to college. And I said, well, I'll think about it, but my parents don't have any money. But she put the seed in Mrs. Humphrey from elementary school, because when I was going to the 6th grade, Mrs. French was my teacher in the 6th grade. And I was a correspondent and all that, but one day she asked me to go to the front room to read, and I couldn't go because of some incident that happened to me. And I said, I can't. And so she got really angry, and she said, you stay after school, and I'll talk to you. So I stayed, and I told her the reason I didn't want to go up there. And she said, I don't care if you're dying, if you're bleeding, or whatever. Whenever I tell you to come up, you come up. And then so she moved me to the low 6 with Miss Humphrey. And Miss Humphrey just couldn't understand why she had moved me from her high class to the low 6. And she said, what am I going to do with you? So she gave me an IQ test, and I tested high. And so she went to Mrs. French and told Mrs. French she shouldn't be in my classroom, because all the ones that are in my classroom, they need remedial, things. So I became a teacher's aide in her room. And she had some books that I asked her if I could borrow them. And I was 12 years old in the 6th grade. And I was reading Homer, the Iliad, Ulysses, and all the travels in Greek mythology. And I got involved, and I loved that. So I started with that. And I loved reading after that. I read every day, and I got books from the library and anything I could get my hands on. And that's how I think I became a teacher, because I was an aide right there, helping all the kids learn something in that classroom. And then Miss French said, oh, you can come back to my classroom now if you want to. But I refused. I just stayed in the low class, and I worked with the kids there, and I liked it.
So you were also a teacher, and you got your reading. And
Mhm. Yeah, I enjoyed Mrs. Humphrey, and she told me, oh, no, you're a very good student. You shouldn't be in this class. I don't know why Mrs. French put you here. But I enjoyed, and she told me, make sure that when you get older, you do something with your life. So Miss Humphrey and Mrs. Weiss were the ones that helped me. Because I remember what they told me, you need to go to school and, use that mind.
Esther, how did you, you mentioned the little cute girl coming from South Colton. Were there any other incidents when you went downtown Colton that?
Oh, yeah. When we went to, like to town, they used to look at us and see they followed us when we went into a store, followed us all the time. And I don't know if they were afraid we were going to steal, or we didn't have any money, or what, I don't know. And then when we went to the New Colton Theater, Mr. Myers made us sit on the left side, and if we got to the right side, they escorted us out of the movies or back to the place and stay there.
Uh-huh.
And I remember that my dad, when I was, I think maybe about, and I don't know why I remember things when I was really little, 2 or 3 years old, he took me to a restaurant downtown in Colton. I don't remember where it was, but I know that we walked downtown, and he went to a restaurant and told me, look at this. And there was a big sign on the outside that says, no Mexicans and dogs allowed.
Hmm.
And I remember that, and then
you were only 3 years old?
Yeah, 2 or 3, when I saw that sign. And I always had it in my mind. And then when I got older, I told Helen, my friend Helen Abril, about it. She said, oh, no, Esther, you're wrong. I never saw it. I never heard that about that. You're wrong. So one time when I went to the Wilson School picnic, I saw the paper there, and I said, this is the thing that I remember. It was there. It was in the Colton Courier that they had that sign that was in one of the restaurants. So I remembered that we were segregated, and they didn't want us on the north side.
What about the candy store or the soda shop or any of those
Oh,
places?
Hunters. We had money, but we had to go through a window they had. If we wanted to buy candy, we had to buy it through the window. We couldn't go into Hunters.
Mm.
Until when I was I think a senior in high school, then we could go into Hunters.
Uh-huh.
Junior, senior, then we could go in there. But when we were younger, we couldn't go. We had to buy our items through the window.
What about the clothing and things like that?
Oh, clothing. They used to have a lot of shops downtown. They had, Hellman's, Willett's, Moto Day, JCPenney, Adele's, and other little stores there that had clothing and shoes. I used to buy all my shoes at Brill's and Willett's and things like that. But I had, like I said, I had money when I worked in the fields. I always used to save $50, $60, and then I had that in my pocket to go buy things.
Uh-huh. And there was no problem with the stores?
No, not at the stores, because you had money, you paid.
So so green is just kind of a good ticket
Oh,
for
yeah.
admissions.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, so, but I had a lot of fun growing up with, especially my grandmother, who was there for all of us, all the family, all the cousins.
Uh-huh.
Mhm.
So she was a good support,
Oh, yeah.
a good foundation, a cornerstone for
Oh,
the
yeah.
whole family.
And then she made me read in Spanish, like I said, La Opinión to her every day. And then I used to write letters to her family in Mexico because she didn't know how to write and read. And so I used to do it for her. And she said, make sure you never forget your language.
Hmm. You mentioned Mrs. Weiss,
Mm-hmm.
okay, Miss Weiss. She married Tirso Serrano.
Mm-hmm.
A story that I heard, Esther, was that Mrs. Weiss was the assistant superintendent.
Dean of Girls.
Dean of Girls, Dean of
Mhm.
Girls. And that one meeting that she had with the Gringo girls, the Anglo
Mhm.
girls, and she told them, you better stay away from those Mexican boys,
Mhm.
because otherwise you'll get in trouble.
No, I never remember her saying anything because I know she was really great for all especially the children that wanted to learn, the Mexican children that put an interest into their studies. She was really wonderful. She was the one that told me to go to college, and she said, you need to further your mind. And then when I was a senior, I used to do shorthand in my junior and senior year. And like I said, Mrs. Cobb was a shorthand teacher, and she had me transcribing and doing all this, and she gave me all these awards, Newbery Awards that had for shorthand writing. And she made me be on Success Day, she made me be the teacher for the juniors and seniors shorthand. So I taught shorthand when I was a senior for that day. And I remember wearing this blue dress and my high heels and my nylons and stuff, and I went upstairs and I was walking down. I fell down. And then I tore all my nylons, and I had to have one more class, and it was a senior class that I went down, and I was so embarrassed, and I just took off my nylons and said, I'm going to just go like this into the room, and I taught the juniors and seniors shorthand.
Ah, very
Mhm.
good, very
Yeah.
good. So you did like high school?
Oh, I loved it. Because I worked in the field, so I know what it is to work in fields and break your back doing those kind of things. I said, no, I'd rather get an education, and I loved going to school.
And Esther, you mentioned some of the people that you ran into at the school level, the
Mhm.
teachers.
Mhm.
Who were some of your heroes as you were growing up?
Like I said, Miss Weiss was one of mine because she always gave me books to read, extra books and stuff, and she told me to read these books, you'll like them. And I remember she gave me Ramona, the first book I read about Ramona from, I think it had to do with Indians around the area, because I think I read something about it being an Aguamansa thing there.
Yeah.
That's where Ramona was based on or something, and Alessandro.
So
So-
you, that was one of your heroes. Any
Yeah.
others? Any other heroes?
Like I said, there were not a lot of them just tolerated you.
Your grandmother was one of your heroes.
Oh, my grandmother. Oh, yeah. Well, at home, my grandmother and my great grandmother, we used to call her. Her name was Telesfora Segovia, and she never put her married name Guzman. She always said, "Yo soy Telesfora Segovia." So she's my hero because 4'11" woman, she was the one that was the basis of all that they had. She built the home. She had the money to build the homes because she had the perseverance to. When they went mining, they found gold in different places. My grandfather, Valeriano, used to go with this man, and they used to put the gold in a little bag. My grandmother used to take a little every day and put it in her little handkerchief in her seno right here and kept it there. And if it hadn't been for her keeping that money, because Anglos came and stole the money for the gold nuggets from them, and they took them all, and my grandmother just had that, and so they bought land in Rose Hills. And then she bought 2 cows, and she sold milk to the Campo Colorado in La Habra. She sold milk and cheese and butter to the people. There was a community of lots of people from different places. There was La Francesita that came from France, and a lot of people that came from other areas of the country. They lived on the Campo Colorado, which was like a project for the city. And all the houses were red. There were 3 streets with red houses. And she made money selling her milk. And they planted everything they had. They had chickens, pigs, goats, the cows, and everything. And I never went to a store to buy fruit because there were fruit trees all over. We had everything, vegetables planted, everything. We hardly ever went. And my grandfather established a pool hall. And then he also built, with my great-grandfather, they built a big building where they put showers, individual showers and bathrooms. And the people that didn't have inside plumbing, they used to come and pay 20 cents to take a shower. And that's how they made their money.
And this was in La Habra.
La Habra.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, but both families were very instrumental in doing their own, all the time, doing different things to earn money.
And where did they mine the gold?
I don't know where they went, but they were very young before they had my grandfather. And they were very young, and all that money my grandmother saved, and they bought land in Rose Hills, and then they sold it, and they bought land in La Habra. So, but it was because of her. And she worked also in the chili factory where they paid them with gold nuggets.
Mm-hmm.
So she had money to start her things that she wanted to do in life. And my grandfather was also working in the school. He was a janitor for the schools in La Habra. But there's a similarity between the Guzman and the Hernandez.
Mm.
And because they both had the priests eating at their homes. Like my grandmother and my grandfather had Father Stapleton and Picarelli and all those priests. Because I always remember both of my families were very Catholic oriented. They always attended church. So that's why I'm writing about both of these 2 great people that were from my life.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I was going to ask you, you know, it's been a little over an hour that we've been talking.
Oh.
And, you know, is there anything that I forgot to ask you?
No, I don't think I think we touched everything that was on the paper here.
Frank, did I forget anything? Or Henry, did I forget anything?
We
Lily?
talked about young, the
No.
church, leaders. I think we talked about almost everything, except number 8. Is there anything else? But I already told you about La Habra.
Yeah, and, yeah, this, the last thing is, what was the best thing about living in Golden?
Family. To me, my family, because we grew up all cousins were, you know, like Gloria, my cousin Gloria Castillo, and all of us, we were all together. Connie and Rosa and Monsignor, we all lived together. Monsignor lived on L Street, but they came to my grandmother's house all the time. So, but family oriented and church, going to church is the basis of. Because to this day we still meet once a week to say rosary. The whole family that can go.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Esther, thank you very much for sharing your life with us.
Mm-hmm.
You know, very, very interesting, and I commend you for working on your book, a family book,
Mm-hmm.
and I think it's just coming along fine. And are you sure that I didn't forget anything?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah.
Because I told you all about my grandmother, grandparents' tortilla, and about tortilla factory, and about myself, my birthplace, and experiences. Young, when I was young, and all that stuff. Mm-hmm. I think we covered most everything.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you.
You're welcome.